See, if you ask me to make a moral code of conduct, I would do a very bad job with it, and I would have my own biases. When he does not interfere, people are against him. When he interferes, there are people who are against him. So the cycle goes on and on. For things like this, why don't we learn to ignore? Why don't we just enjoy life? Let them do what they want. Hello there, hope you're having a great day. Welcome back. Today I thought of sharing something that has been running in my mind for a while. And two things I want to do today. One is one of these thoughts that have been in my mind for quite some time, and I've been trying to make a video of it, but I was not able to. I wrote something down on my notepad, then I lost track of it, and I just discarded the whole plan of doing it. Last night I was sleeping and I had this thought coming back to me again and again of sharing this. So that's the reason why I'm doing it today. So two thoughts. One is going to be a question that I want to ask you and ask your opinion about it. Can God morally fail? What do you think about it? Go ahead and type it in the comment section. What do you think about God failing as a moral being? And second is a news article that I read today morning, and I found it very funny. It's about a Bollywood actor. So these are the two things that I want to share with you today. So first question of can God morally fail? One of the questions that came into my mind when this question was raised in my mind first was, who's God? How do you define God? And how do you describe him? Only then we can find answer to the other questions like, can God, who is he morally? Can he fail morally? And all those questions. So I believe God cannot morally fail, because if he morally fails, he cannot be God. He cannot be someone who can be contained in a human mind. He should go beyond the human mind to be God. He should transcend time. He should be perfect. He should be pure. Everything that we say good should come through him and by him. So I believe that God should be that kind of entity. He cannot be someone like me. If he is someone like me, then what's the difference? If he is going to be a finite being, if he lacks morality, if he lacks power, then why should I consider that entity or that person as God? And most of the time people ask this question of, is God morally good? It presupposes this idea that God does not interfere in the daily affairs of human life, and they don't see any evidence of God doing something when some evil thing happens to good people. So that's the reason people say that God is amoral. God is a person who lacks moral credibility. So these are the few concerns that they raise, especially the atheist or people who don't believe in God. They raise up such kind of question. And they assume that because God is not interfering with the evil things, that he is not coming down to save people out of the evil situation, or he is not doing anything to curb evil on earth, he is not being a morally good God. Now, for me, I don't buy into that statement. Again, you have to ask this question, where does this objective morality comes from? Again, it goes back to God, someone who is transcendent, someone who is not affected by any affairs of this world can only give that kind of morality. Someone who is affected by the things of the world, I don't believe. See, if you ask me to make a moral code of conduct, I would do a very bad job with it, and I would have my own biases when I would do it. So I'm not a good person, and I don't think human beings have the capability. Yes, human beings are good are good in some sense, that they do certain good things. But I also believe that inherently man is not good. If you have not seen that video, I'll link it somewhere here so you can go and check out that video, why I believe that man is not inherently good. Right, so I don't believe in human capability of creating a good law. Yes, men have created good law, and I feel that that's a derivation of the eternal law that God has given, and most of the law has a Judaic Christian influence to it. See, people have this question: has not God interfered in this world with the affairs of the world? I believe that God has already done it. In the book of Genesis, there is the first flood that the whole world sees for the very first time. That's the time when God sees the rampant evil and wickedness in the earth, and then God decides to judge the earth, except for Noah and his family and some animals. Everything else is destroyed. Secondly, again in the same book, where God meets up with Abraham and tells him that, hey, this is what I'm going to do with Sodom and Gomorrah. Abraham knows that Lot is there, and he wants to save him. Abraham and God begins this conversation, and God tells him that, hey, I have to do this. I have to judge Sodom and Gomorrah because of its evil nature. And that ends. So God has interfered when he saw evil in this world, and there are many people who are against God when he has interfered. When he does not interfere, people are against him. When he interferes, there are people who are against him. So the cycle goes on and on. So I would like to put a full stop over there, right? The second news article that I read today was about Kareena being sued by some Christian organization because she used Bible in her new book called Pregnancy Bible. See, I'm not here to support Kareena Kapoor, or I'm not here to support the Christian organization. I believe two of them could have used wisdom and maybe had done something in a different way, right? So is there anything wrong in using the word Bible? I don't believe in it. Bible informally is just a collection of book. It's a handy book or a manual. Formally it is recognized as the scripture that we read. But informally, this is how people consider it. Sometimes we have to be very slow with the trigger. Sometimes I feel that some of these things make us look funny in the eyes of the world. So let's hold our triggers. We have to be very careful with what we are responding to and to what we are not responding to. So there are certain things that we need to respond, and when we are silent on those issues, that's when the problem comes. When there are right things, when justice is at stake, and when Christians don't open their mouth to say anything about it, then that's a problem. But when it comes to some of these silly things, we open our mouth and we try to do something about it. I don't feel that that's a right thing to do as believers of God and as sons and daughters of God. I don't believe that we have to defend silly things, but there are many bigger things, things that affect daily lives of people that we need to defend, that we have to stand for, and I believe that that's where our mouths should open and be vocal about it, especially when we see there is injustice and when people are suffering. Then we have to open ourselves and say things. But for things like this, why don't we learn to ignore? Why don't we just enjoy life? They are not going to tarnish God. They don't have that power to tarnish God. Right? So, yeah, just wanted to add this in between. And one more thing that I want to say is this, that see, if we have to defend God, then I believe, this is what I believe, we are not, I believe that God is not a weak God, that he needs a human help to be defended. See, what the scripture tells us in 1 Peter 3:15 is that to defend our faith, not defend God. God can defend himself. He is powerful God. He is a mighty God. He will defend himself. He does not need our help to defend him. So let's do that. See, when we defend, what happens is that people, yeah, maybe I'll do that as a second video. It's almost 10 minutes now. The uncut version. Maybe when I cut it, it would be much smaller than that. Yeah, so I try to make these random videos as much as I can. When I don't have a script, everything just comes out of my mind. But when I have a script, the problem is that I really love to go in that flow. If something happens, if I skip a word or a sentence, I get kind of bewildered, and I feel like, okay, I'm doing something wrong. Then I go into a cycle of recording, re-recording, and it goes on like that for 5-6 minutes or 5-6 takes, and and then I eventually get bored of doing it, and then I just leave the whole idea of doing it, and it goes to the trash bin. So I'll try to do this more, just to come impromptu and share the thoughts that I have in my mind, and I believe that this would help you and bless you. This is my idea to share my thoughts. I believe will help you, and also help you gain a perspective. So God bless you. Give a like, share your thoughts, and subscribe to this channel. God bless.